Right, hey everybody. Everyone's having a great week so far. Yeah, sorry we weren't able to make it, or I wasn't able to make it Monday, but that's okay. I'm here a bit early today, so that'll make up for at least part of it. But let's move over to Unity now. And yesterday we had started working on new turn scripts. And let's see, I think that we got most of it done, except this part that actually calls the Lua scripts. Like whatever handles this doesn't actually do anything yet. But I'll go ahead and just play the game and we'll see. I'm pretty sure... Yeah, it's stuck in the run scripts phase you can see down here, so it won't let me select anything. That's just because it's waiting for these scripts to finish running, but obviously that won't happen because they're not even being started. So let's get to that. Okay, so what did I call it? Yeah, new turn Lua color. Okay, now right here we see there's nothing going on. And so let's just copy, how about the usable Lua color, because it's kind of simple. And I'll just use it again as just a base to get started. I'm not actually sure if we'll need the database, and probably not even the Lua registry, but I'll go ahead and import those namespaces just in case. Alright, so did I create a test script? Okay, I had the testing on load, but I don't have I actually don't have a testing on new turn yet. Okay, so on new turn, and let's add the turn number here. So it'd be game state turn number. We'll need to remember to add that variable because I don't think it exists yet. So that's really all we want to happen, is it just calls this function, does not need an argument, and we don't care about a return value. Okay, so this is a new turn call, parameters. Let's switch out these arguments here. Oh, that was the wrong thing. Okay, and obviously, yeah, the result doesn't have anything at the moment, but if for some reason we never need to have a return value here, it's just easier to just make this dummy structure, because that way if we just need to if we ever do need to return something, we don't have to go through and change everything that uses this message, because it just uses a structure, so we can add whatever data inside. And this is wrong. Alright, so I got to change the type there. Alright, so we don't need the registry or the game database, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, don't have any arguments, so the first argument is actually just null. Or I guess we should say user data Oh wait, dynamic value, new void, does it let me do that? No, okay, so I'll just give it a nil. Okay, we don't care about that either. The function is actually, okay, so we actually do need the game database because we need to get the list of functions, I just realized. So database on new turn functions, and then the parameters have given us the index. Okay, so maybe we should actually return the index in the result. So function index, just so that way the return value or the return handler will actually know which function are finished calling or finished executing. And I think that's about it. So yeah, we want to forbid stat requests, but any other options are fine. Okay, I think that's it. So now I need to go into the testing table of contents and add the new on new turn function. And I also need to add the turn number to the game state. Oh, it's actually battle state, not game state. Okay, so I don't have this public int turn number, and we'll return the battle, yeah, turn number. Okay, so let's, I think everything's hooked up now. Okay, no, it's still stuck on run scripts. And we didn't get the print from the Lua either. What is this? Okay, well, that was just some testing thing I guess I was trying earlier. Okay, so let's try and look. Maybe nothing created these classes yet, or maybe I forgot to add them to the subcontroller. It looks like they're right here, so something else is wrong. Okay, maybe I should have a debug here. Debug log, new turn, let's do string format. New turn function, returned. And then the number, I'm using string format so I can use the brackets there. So function index. I guess it would make a little more sense if I put this here. So it's like new turn function number or whatever returned. Should only be one, so we should get something that says new turn function number 0 returned, unless something is going wrong. Okay, so run scripts. Maybe we also need to see if it's actually being called. I might be forgetting something I didn't actually complete last time. It's been a whole weekend, so. Okay, so it didn't actually call anything. So let's look here and see. State equals initialize, so I set it right there, and then call functions. Maybe then on new turn functions doesn't get filled up? So add state functions should take care of it. Unless I messed up something. Okay, yeah, we don't need that anymore. Gosh, I just skipped right over that. Okay, yeah, so yeah, I said onload functions twice. Okay, yeah, so that was the problem. I was adding the new turn function into the wrong list. Okay, so yeah, now it said new turn function number 0 returned, but subphase is still stuck on run scripts, so yeah, because I can't click on anything. Right, so let's get rid of this. And probably what happened. Okay, so I have this, but do I actually subscribe? Okay, I do. So if state does not equal idle, then we subtract Lua call count. So let's just print out this. Do I have it already? No. Unity engine, debug, log, Lua call count, and let's just watch this counter. It should give us 0 right away because there's only one function, and then when it's decremented it goes to 0, and that should cause the game to complete. Oh, you know what? I bet nothing responds to. Well, I just go to the idle state. I don't call the onComplete. Yeah, so that's the problem. Do I call this anyway? No. So I could wait until the next tick to call this, or just call it here. I don't think it makes much difference. Okay, so now the init turn phase manager. Okay, I already subscribed. Alright, so let's see what happens now. So now script 2 yielded false. Oh, I see. So it did move on, and now it moved on to choose the monster, and now these scripts are the new turn, or not new turn, ability usable scripts, number 1 and 2. So if I click here, it'll let me move. Okay, now it goes all the way, and then it says feature is not implemented, which we knew. So let me just check. Back on, I wanted to see if we still got the Lua printout that said turn number 0. Okay, so here it's doing ready checks for loading. Okay, yeah, Lua framework on load, that's fine. Wait. Yeah, this is during the init turn. So, okay, I guess I bet what I did wrong. Yeah, I forgot to change the name there. Okay, so let's try this one more time. And also, I noticed, where is it? The battle state. I should probably add one to this number, since Lua, as I've said before, is 1 indexed instead of 0 indexed. Okay. So yeah, now Lua framework on new turn number 1. Okay, so that's perfect. And just to make sure everything still is okay. Okay, perfect. So now we can mark something else off the list. Okay, so we'll get to these probably soon, but I want to do a little anti-cheat just to kind of make sure that the player selections work right. So let's see, what is the class that does that? I guess it's the choice error checker. So right now we really just copy the selections exactly from what we receive from the server. We don't do any error checking, which is fine. Okay, well we do an exception here if there's a bad ability index or something. The only other thing we should probably do is like make sure that the monster can actually use this ability. Like, we don't really care so much if like one of the selections doesn't actually make sense, or actually, do we care? Because somebody could maybe like hack their game to give unlimited range. Okay, but the problem with that is that if they did that when the other players try to recalculate the targets for the ability and slot in this index, it will probably give something different than whatever the other player hacked their game into, which would give a different list of actions, and then the game would catch that cheating later on. So I don't think we need to like recalculate the targets again and make sure that it's good. Alright, but yeah, I will just do a small check here. So we have the database. I guess we'll also need the battle. Get component, battle. And then just right here, if the player selection monster, wait, that's not it. Equals. Okay, well that's just one thing we can check, that the monster index is not out of bounds. So if player selection dot player index less than 0 greater than or equal to battle players. Okay. Oh, it's a count. I was trying to type length, but it's not an array, it's a list. And then monster index is less than 0, or monster index greater than battle monsters count, or okay, so the target index we can really only check if it's less than 0. And in the ability. Okay, we already checked if it was a valid ability, so. So if it's any of these things, then that is also corrupted. And then we need to check that the monster index is owned by a specific player. So if battle players player index dot team contains, so if it does not contain, okay, so now it's not corrupted, it's just invalid. So let's do a slightly different error message. Then if battle players monster index dot do I have a list of skills? Oh. Well, we can't. I don't know if we can test this because we don't know all of a monster's abilities. That's part of the hidden information. I guess we can see if it's a possible ability. Okay, well there's a lot of things we could do here, because like in Pokemon, for example, you can have only 4 abilities, so if the player says they try to use an ability and you already know a monster has used 4 different abilities, then that would trigger the alarms here. We could also look into this monster's prototype and see if this ability is in its list of possible abilities. The only thing is, I don't know. I feel like this kind of stuff should be left up to mods because they could change the number of abilities a monster can have, for example. And then sometimes there might be some abilities that can be used that technically aren't usable by a monster, like for example in Pokemon there's an ability that will let you copy whatever anybody else uses, although I guess that would work different, wouldn't it? Okay, well for now let's just check the prototype and see if this ability is in the list. Later on we can try and be more sophisticated. Okay, so let's see. I think we can do this all in one line without it getting too confusing. So, monster prototypes. Player selection dot monster index prototype ID abilities contains ability is false. So this is basically if excuse me, if this monster's prototype does not contain the selected ability as one of its possible abilities, then we know that something's wrong. So I think this is about as best as we can do right now. And the only other thing we need to do is where is it? Yeah, the selection regenerator. here when we regenerate the selections, if the target index that is passed in the selection is greater than the list that we regenerate, then there's some other error, so we need to throw something then. Do I already have the error message claim? I don't think so. So this will be a play exception. Oops, I did not spell that right at all. Okay, so now so I guess we handle it right here, so I'll just need to have a try catch. And then we just send on error. I don't think there's anything else. So basically, if this target index is greater than this list, then we throw an error. So if results options, okay, let's do it this way. Selection target index less than result options count. And we already checked that the target index was I guess I could, oh no, because we need to see which selection actually pertains to this. I thought that maybe we could move this outward into this loop, but no. Okay, so right, if this is less, then that's valid. Otherwise, we need to throw play exception. Oh, I always forget the new. Okay, so I guess this would be turn selections. I guess out of bounds target. Okay, well I should probably change it to out of bounds target index, because if a target is out of bounds that kind of makes it seem like it's maybe outside the board, so just to avoid any confusion. Alright, so we're done with that. And I guess before I go any further, let's make sure the game still runs. Okay, I got as far as we have been getting, so that's good. Okay, so what else do we have? Okay, I think we'll do this part now, where we'll ask the server for unknown stats. Actually, okay, the problem with that is that we'll have to break out our second client to actually be able to test this, which I guess isn't a bad thing. Let's go ahead and code it. Okay, so stat server requester. So right now we don't actually request the server for anything. We kind of just cheat, wait a second, and then return this random values back. Okay, so we can still have this waiting send, and I don't know if we need the response. Oh yeah, we do, because that's how we know what the server should send back to us. And the reason that we want to kind of cache all the send requests is because probably a Lua script will ask for many stats at once, and instead of having to send a message for each one, we can kind of ask for quite a few in one message. Okay, so let's just start from the beginning, where here's the handle request, which is, I guess, where we receive a request from some other part of the game. Okay, so before we add it here, we kind of want to make sure that it's not a duplicate. So to do that, let's just request and waiting send. Okay, I can't use that. Okay, previous request. We need a boolean, so let's call this if unique request. We'll set it to true. And then if it's still unique by the time we get through the whole list, then we'll add it to the end. Okay, do we want to... I guess we might as well add an equals here. Well, if I do that, I'm going to have to make a hash code. I'm too lazy for that. Okay, so check equal and this will just be return a monster index equals b monster index and a stat index equals b stat index. So pretty simple. And if check equal previous request and this request, then we would set unique request to false because it's already been the request is already in our list. And then we can break out and this won't run. So that's pretty simple. Okay, and then I have a helper class here for sending messages to the server. I'm not sure if it will actually... Well, it should work here, I guess. So the nice thing about this is that it will take care... Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot of code here, but now I don't have to worry about actually connecting with a network and checking if we are connected at this point. Okay. So I actually... Yeah, we actually don't need another list here, I don't think. But I guess I'll wait until I've figured it all out. Because basically, by the next time the timer ticks around, and we still haven't received a response from the server, we'll just ask again. Okay, so now it's going to say I'm not implementing the abstract class. And let's see, what arguments do I need to send to the constructor? Okay, so I need to create something new here. I guess this will be client stat request. That's probably fine. And the retry period would be right here, this wait period. I guess, yeah, we'll just use the same constant. but it should probably be longer. So how does that retry period work actually? Oh, I see. This repeat helper will try to send the message again. If this retry period, what I'm trying to say, ticks over. Okay, so 1 second is probably too short. Let's change it to 10. Okay, and yeah, let's go ahead and create this object. Oh, yeah, it doesn't exist yet, of course. And it's not an object either, it's an enumeration member. Okay, so the C is, these are messages that clients send, and then I always start with an S if it's a message the server sends, and it's basically the response for the request, just for simplicity. Okay, well I see most of these times I don't even include the request, so maybe I should just change it to C hidden stat. Which is perfect. Okay, and this isn't a wait period, this is actually a retry period. Okay, and we know if we're ready to send if our waiting response has any requests in it. I guess it's actually waiting send. So I'll delete that because I'm pretty sure we won't need it. And let's just change this to requests. This basically we won't need, but I'll just leave it in case. And here, yeah, we don't have a class to actually send the stat request yet, so I'll wait. So what else do I need to do here? Okay, so I guess after a handle request I should call this refresh sending function. Or should I wait until the next frame to do that? Because I think if I called it right here, then I think the game might try to send the message immediately, and we actually want to wait until the next frame. Okay, yeah, so let's have I guess we can just call refresh sending every frame. It's not going to cause any problems, I don't think. Okay. Okay, so I was going to say now we need to actually handle responses. So the only problem about that is that I have this separate class that takes care of it. Which I mean isn't really a problem, except these classes need to share the request list. Okay. I mean the other option is to try to combine both of that code into one class, but then I can't take advantage of this helper class I have. So let's yeah, I think the best thing is just to create something separate. so what did I call the first one? Stat server requester. So this would be a stat response handler. It really should probably be changed to hidden information requester, but because we saw that some hidden information is not even a stat, like we just dealt with abilities, but when we get to that point we can rename it. Okay, so this is a message receiver base. Okay, so we don't know what type it is. I guess I just should go ahead and create the message right now. Okay, so let's call it a hidden stat value message. And this will basically be the message that we get back from the server. And I'm just going to leave it empty for now because I really just want to set up these classes. Okay, I can generate the constructor and abstract, except we will actually just give it a message key here. And it is C, our server hidden stat. Okay, so it needs to be able to share this list somehow, which means I should probably have this check equal be inside the actual server stat request. That's what I get for being lazy. I'll have to go ahead and create the hash value anyway. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and have them both claim it. So request equals controller get variable. I don't really need to name it because nothing else is going to have a list of server stat requests. Or tag it, I should say. And this actually is claim. Okay, so if request value is null, then we need to create the list right here. And just change this to value and same right there. Okay, and now I can grab this. Actually, this response receive will need to be in the other class. Oops. So we can get rid of that, and I'll just copy. Oh, I did it again. It's not there. It's right there. Yeah, let's move this. Since I keep on clicking the wrong values, I'll just shuffle that up there. Okay, and yeah, this still needs an update function, but the handler doesn't. We just wait really until we receive something here or here. So this class is always ready to receive messages. Actually, it's only ready if the request value count is greater than 0. Right, because if we have no requests, then we don't care. Technically, we need to check if the value is null, don't I? So if request value does not equal null, and there we go. Okay, so handle message is what we'll do next. But I guess we should start, like, just follow the path that the code would actually take. At least client side. Okay, yeah, because there's actually one other part of this. The part that the server requests the stat from one of the players and then it sends it back to the server. So let's see here. Okay, so this should actually be a hidden stat. Oh, this is kind of confusing. What do I want to call it? Because there's kind of two different pairs of message here. There's a message from one client that asks the server to receive or to give it the stat of another player. And then there's the stat or the message where the server asks the player to give them their stat value so they can send it to someone else. And I was going to call one hidden stat request, but that could actually go for either. What do I want to call this? So the first type is, where a player needs to know another player's stats, so they ask the server. So that would be a hidden stat. Okay, well, I guess I can call this one So you almost want to call one a value request, but that could actually go for either as well. Okay, so let's just call one of them that originates from the client. I was going to say one could be like a server request, and then one could be the client request. But I mean, it's still is kind of confusing. And I know that if I don't name this right, I'm going to be wondering which of these keys does what. Okay, well, let's just say hidden stat to server. I guess I can always just write a little comment here. So client A requests stat or client B's stat from the server, and then here server sends client A client B's stat. And then this next part, hidden stat to client B gives the server their stat value. And then here is hidden stat to client and then server requests client B give their stat value. Okay, so yeah, hopefully I still don't really like these names, but hopefully these comments will help me keep track of it. And we already know, like, since this is kind of complicated, I want to try to be able to use this code to request any hidden information. So I think I'm going to go ahead and rename everything that's to do with this to hidden info. Because yeah, as I said, I can already think of another type of hidden information besides a statistic, and that is a monster's abilities. And maybe we need to request that at some point, and so I want to try and take care of that now. Okay, so let's again, we kind of run into the same naming conundrum here. So let's call this hidden info receiver. Oh, I just clicked sort using, that's fine. Hidden info receiver. And then we have the stat server requester. Let's change this to hidden info requester. Yeah, because this makes a request. And then this is hidden info request. Okay, and then the other classes. So one of them is the class that, and again I want to try and separate the classes that receive calls from the server that actually send, just so I can make use of the super classes that I've set up. And it's also just a good way to split up classes. So this would be hidden info value request receiver. And then hidden info value sender. Okay, so yeah, the names are still okay, but we'll make do. Oh, I should change these namespaces, but we won't deal with these classes for now. I just wanted to kind of create them. Okay, so hidden info requester is what deals with requests from Lua scripts and gets ready to send it to the server. So let's go ahead and make the messages that we'll send. Okay, yes, I should rename this one as well. This message is actually contains the value for whatever requests, so we want to have another one, which is just hidden info request message. I guess that's kind of one way we could separate these, is that this could be called client hidden info request and then server hidden info request, but the only confusing thing is that they'd actually or actually this would be hidden info request, is that usually how I've handled this before is that when once client sends this, it receives that same message back just with a different prefix, but it would kind of be like client A sends this, but then client B actually would get this message, which I guess is okay, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem right to me. But yeah, that's enough for names. Maybe I'll think of something over the day tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, it's been a while since we've worked on any netcode, so just a small refresher is in Unity, if you want to send anything over the network, there's an easy way to do it using these message-based classes, and Unity will actually serialize the class and send it over the internet for you. It has a couple of stipulations, one being that you can't send a list, you can only send arrays, and then also it's kind of strange sometimes if you try to send like arrays of enumeration values. I remember it doesn't like, so you've got to just kind of try a bunch of things and see what works and what doesn't. So what I kind of want to do, alright, I need to remember any class that you send should put serializable. So this class, so again, this message will actually contain requests for many statistics. And in order to do that with Unity system, you need to create another class like that. Alright, now one moment, I need to blow my nose, so I'll spare you. Okay, thank you for that. Let's get back to work. So really, there'll be a type. So let's just make another enumeration. I'm not sure if you technically have to tag enumeration as serializable, but just in case. Type. So right now we just have a statistic. And then pretty much everything will have a monster index. So right now I'll be specific about monster index and stat name. If we want to make these values more generic, we can always go back. And we can't send a stat index over the network because it's not guaranteed that the indexes will be the same across clients, because the order that the file system loads the mods might be different. But the monster index will always be the same because that's set by the map generation, which is always, we know is the same because we tested for that when the game was loading. Okay, so I think this is it. Guess the hidden info requester. So we'll send a message that contains an item for every request we have. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. In the future, you might want to like only send, I don't know, like 32 requests at once or something, so the message isn't too large. But I don't know if that would ever happen. Right, so return. Okay, we can't do that right away. So hidden info request message. Is that not what it's called? Maybe I'm just not using the networking namespace. Yeah, that's probably it. So for each request, and request dot value. I should probably make sure this isn't null. So if request. Well, I don't need to do that here because this ready to send would not trigger if the list is null. So does not equal null and value count is greater than 0. Okay, so actually need to create the array first. So message items equals new, and there'll be one item for each request in our list. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so message. Oh, actually, I do need to do a for loop because I need to get the index. Okay, so int I equals 0, I less than message items length. So let's go ahead and get the request class out here. Oh, right here. Equals requests value I. And then we can set the items. Okay, so right now we only support stat requests, so we can just set that right here. We can come in, change that when we add something else. And the monster index is easy, it's right in here. And then the stat name, oh, it's lots easy to get with the game database, but I don't have it yet. Yeah, so I actually don't need the battle in here. Database equals controller, get component. Okay, I think I have a stat name array. Yeah, right here. Okay, that goes the other way though, doesn't it? Yeah, it goes from name to index, but we need to go from index to name. Okay, so I think we've had to do this a few times, and I think it's time to have a reverse lookup. So public list strings stat names Okay, and let's see, where is this set? Find all references. Yeah, well, that makes sense, it's here. Yeah, so organizer, so register stat. And then we can just add it to this array at the same time, and that should all add up. Okay, yeah, we want to do the key. Okay, and anywhere else? Let's look real quick to see if something else has to loop through the stat names. Where is that? Okay, yeah, here. So we got just return. Do I have the database? Okay, stat names. And I have stat index right here. So now we don't need to loop through there every time a mod requests the name of the statistic. Okay, we can just return database. Alright, so that's just a little cleanup. I really don't like having two-way lookups for things like this, but I think we really will need it. And I guess we don't go around changing the lists, so it shouldn't lead to any errors, I hope. So request stat index. Why is it not like that? Oh, we're using the map. Alright, and then we just need to return the message here, and I think that's it. Okay, so now this message heads to the server. They're going to request the stat from another player, and then we'll get back a hidden info value message at this receiver. So let's see, the value message will be pretty much the same. I guess we could just reuse that enumeration even. So the value message item, really the only difference here is that we have a float value here. Let's see, right now because I'm thinking that some statistics can actually be a string, but I think for now I constrain them to be a float. Yeah. So I'll just go with that for now. So the value, actually I'll call this float value, because like I said, in the future if we need to ask for an ability, the value would actually be an integer. So right, and here's where we receive the message. So we get it, and then we'll need to actually deposit this information into the game data. So let's see, yeah, both the battle and the battle log. And I was trying to think how do we actually store information that we find out later on in the battle log? Like, should we create some message like, oh, this was found later, or just put it right into the initial value? So I'm trying to think. Okay, so obviously the value that we receive from the server is actually the current value. But the battle log, let's bring it up. The battle log is what's actually saved to the server. I mean, not the server, the save file. And it only has, and these values are like for the initial states of everything. So we have to be careful that we only store the starting value for these statistics in here, which is easy now because statistics can't change, but we need to remember that if we create an action that can change that statistic, which we definitely will be doing, that we need to like loop through all the actions in the log and basically do them in reverse so that the starting statistic matches up. Yeah, but we won't be doing that now. I should put a little note, I think. So I want to move, I want to insert it. I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, when adding stat changing actions, be sure to set correct value in battle log so that let's see, there's not enough information for me. Let's do an example. For instance, attack equals 5, but turn 2 had an action to add 1 attack. So battle log value should be 4 because everything in the battle log is the values at turn 0. Battle log has values at turn 0. Okay, so that should be good enough to help me remember what I was thinking here. But for now I'll just, yeah, since we don't actually change any statistics and any actions, we can just set the current value into the log. But anyway, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but so we know that we will need the battle here, as well as the battle log. We could even have these messages kind of return the initial value, but everybody knows the actions, so it's not really needed. And even if we did return the initial value, we'd have to go back through the actions and add. So yeah, I think this is okay. Yeah, it's the same difference. It doesn't make any, doesn't matter. Okay, anyway. So if okay, so no if, we need to loop through everything in here. I guess I need to make sure if message equals null or message items equals null, then we just return. I don't think we need to throw an error because we're going to be sending another request to the server. Okay, so for int I equals 0, I less than message items length. Okay, so we need to go through the requests, and first we need to remove a request if we actually get information that we needed. So first, okay, let's have another function that's like private bool remove request, and this will return let's call it fulfilled. And this will return true if there's actually a matching request. So if remove fulfilled request, then we'll need to have another function which would be, I don't know, private void store fulfilled received value, which would store everything in the game data. Okay, and what actually do I return? And oh, I had it here. Okay, so I actually return this object back. Okay, so this should be hidden info response. I should change the other message too while I'm thinking about it. Okay, so hidden info request. Okay, so alright, so this actually needs to return the hidden information request. And so I need to have a reference to this. So what do we do if there's nothing found? Oh, I can't return null because it's a structure. So I'll just do that to get rid of the error. So let's see, if there's no information or no request that was actually fulfilled, do we still want to take this information and deal with it? I think so, because this server is just, well actually no, because we shouldn't be receiving it, so the server could be sending us bogus info. Speaking about that, we kind of need to check for cheat detection on this, but that should probably be handled by mods because the game doesn't like know the limits of expected statistics. So let's add a little thing here. Received stat cheat detection. I have a feeling we'll be tackling that later. Alright, so let's see here. Okay, so yeah, if fulfilled does not equal null, Then we'll store received value. Oh right, and this is a structure, so I can't use it as I am right here. Okay, so let's see, out, hidden, info request, fulfilled. Oops, that's not how you spell that. Now we can put this back in the if statement. So this will actually return a boolean, and then it'll have this structure as an out variable. Oh, why is it being weird? Oh, I forgot the curly brace there. Okay, so return false. Okay, so then we store the received value and we'll call the response received. We might want to wait a frame to do this because I think, actually I don't think anything uses this message because the only thing that sends these are the asynchronous Lua controller, and it actually just waits until the next frame when it sees that the stat it requested is known. But anyway, we still want to send that. Okay, so here, again, right now we'll only accept stat types. I guess I still should do a switch because I'm gonna have to change it probably later. Okay, why is this? Oh, because I think set the fulfilled. I think I'll go ahead and create just a new value here. Okay, there we go. So if stat, then we want to see, we need to search through the list. Okay, so we're going to need that as equivalent, or that equals function I created here, which I guess we might as well just put it here in the structure. We're going to have to do hashtag or hash code. And I also want to do equatable. Try and save a little garbage collection here. Alright, so if okay, so yeah, if object is, then we'll return equals. Otherwise, we'll return false. And I can copy this code. Except I need to change these variables, obviously. And hash code. Okay, let's look again, as I explained last time. It's usually better not to write your own hash codes. So luckily I have this hash code I created for 2 integers already, and it will work fine. Now, I'm probably going to have to add more values here, so we need to change the hash code, but we can do that when the time comes. And the other reason I'm even bothering with this, I don't plan to use hidden info requests in a dictionary, but it's just a good practice that whenever you change equals, also create a new hash code. Okay, and now here, I keep pulling that up. So now I don't need to have this. I could just call if request equals previous request. Okay, so private int find matching, I guess fulfilled index. So for int I equals 0, I less than request count, or yeah, value count. So if fulfilled equals request value I, then we'll return I, otherwise we return -1. Okay, so int index. Okay, I don't know that yet because I have to actually create the correct value, so okay, so fulfilled. Oh, come on, work with me please. Alright, so monster index is just copied directly from the item. And then the stat index is database. Oh, I don't have that value yet. Stat name map. Okay, so it might not be in this list. Okay, so int stat index if database stat name map target value. Guess we gotta make sure that the stat name exists. Okay, and yeah, if the stat does not exist, then the fulfilled will just be set to a default value. And then if it's anything besides stat, we'll also set the fulfilled to a default value. Okay. And int index equals find fulfilled index. And we know that if this is greater than or equal to 0, oh, we actually don't need to do anything else. Well, I guess we need to remove it. Okay, so yeah, if it's greater than or equal to 0, then request, oops, dot value remove at index. And we don't actually need to set fulfilled to this because we know they're equivalent, because that's what we just tested for there. And then we'd return index greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so now we need to store the value. which we're gonna have to. Okay, maybe we don't need a separate function for this actually, because it's gonna have to find, like, we'll have to check the validity twice, so that's not a good idea. So basically, if we get to this point, oh, actually, because we get here, and we'd still have to do it again down here because we don't want to set anything in our game data unless the stat. Oh wait, let's see. Yeah, until we're sure that this is a request that's actually been asked before. Okay, so yeah, I guess we'll just have to. And really the only thing is here is that we see if this, we have to find the stat index again. But I guess since we got this far, we know that the stat exists, so we don't really have to do a try get value. Equals database stat name map. Oh, we could maybe also fix that by just passing the fulfilled value as well. Because then we'd already have the stat index. I think that's best. Okay. Yeah, and I'll just assume that fulfilled, that like it's a stat type, because we'd want to check the type actually from the hidden info request instead of the message item. So really all we have to do now is set battle monsters fulfilled dot monster index stats safe. Okay, we have to use safe set because it's an array and we want the indexes to match up. Stat index and statistic from float. Okay, and the reason that we use this function here is in case we ever have statistics that can hold a string value. It just will make things easier in the future. And now we need to do the same thing except in the battle log. And as I was explaining before, we need to like go backwards through all the actions to make sure that we have the initial value for the statistic. But right now actions can only move players and not change any stats, so there can't be any problems there. Okay, and this is already an array with, so we can just index it like that. Okay, so we do need to set the name, I guess. Well, do we really? Because I think it can be null. Let me see, how do I create this? And the data creator. Okay, well we don't. Yeah, it's kind of circular how this works. Wait, do I not actually? Oh no, I do save it. It's just I don't have to generate it. Yeah, because this kind of stuff would be generated during the team building phase, which we don't actually create yet. So I have this class that takes care of it. think that I actually do this a little incorrect because it shouldn't be the length of the stats in the prototype. Although I think this is fine for testing, but it actually needs to go by the list of stats from the database, so I think I'll go ahead and create that now. Okay, so I guess the takeaway from this is that the log would already have, or the array would be the right size, but it might not have a value stuck in there yet. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna have to do a little more logic here, so I'll go ahead and shorten some of these statements. So if stats fulfilled stat index is null, I think I can do that. Yeah, because it's a class. Save monster stats fulfilled stat index equals new. So now we just want to grab this. And we don't, well, probably the name would be set, but I mean, it's not going to cause any problems if I set it again right now. So database. Yeah, because I guess if we have to create a new object, then the name would not be set, so. Stat names. Okay, I'm having to use this value too much. Let's see. Just to shorten all these statements. Usually I try to, if I have to drill down to an object to the same value more than twice, it's usually a good idea to pull that value out into its own variable. Okay, and then the stat float value is simply the value from the message item. Alright, so now this is all good, and I'm just going to write a message here to do deal with stat changing actions. I keep thinking about it because it's going to be important, because that will throw the save files out of sync if we don't handle that later on. Okay, so is that it? Okay, so right now we assume that every hidden info request is just a stat request. That's the only one that we will send right now, so that's okay. Okay, so we've gotten the two messages that client A will deal with. So now we got the two messages. We've got to do the two that client B deals with, which is a request from the server for a specific value, and then send the server back that value. Let's see. Alright, I don't have much time left, but I think we can maybe get started. Did I already close those classes? Okay, so yeah, this is the request receiver, and this will be a message receiver base, and this will receive a hidden information request message. So let's go ahead and generate a constructor and the abstract methods. Okay, so what is this? This is so we'll receive something from the server. Again, these names are already confusing me. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and change this. Hidden information. Yes, this will be a request. And then server sends client A, client B stat value. Okay, yeah, so this is actually hidden info value. Okay, this is client B gives the server their value, so yeah, hidden info value, and then server requests a value from client. So yeah, the requests are when either the client or server needs a value, and then here we're actually passing the value. So I'm gonna match up the names with the actual message type that's being sent. Even though it goes a little bit against how I usually like to structure this, where if one client receives or sends this message, they get back the same thing. It's actually going to be backwards, but, or not backwards, but client A will send this and then get this back, and obviously the names don't match, but I'm confusing myself too much otherwise. Okay, so this class handles a server request. So just cleaning this up a little bit. Okay, and this sends out hidden info request, and this receives, yeah, the value. Okay, I was just making sure they were matched up. Okay, so basically this will receive something, and then it would want to send the message back to the server right away. So maybe probably, well, there's a couple ways we could do it, but I think that we're also going to need to have basically a list of requests that the two objects can pass between each other. Another option would be this message, or this object would send a message to the value sender class. The problem with that though is, what if the value sender like its message didn't go through, or the server didn't receive it? Then when the request receiver sent another message to the value sender, then it might delete the old one. Which I guess wouldn't be the end of the world, because then the client that needed that information would just send it again. Well, that made me think of another issue I should probably deal with. Okay, so this is, yeah, send manager base. Doesn't need a type, I guess. Okay, so let's have public const float retry period. Yeah, I'm not sure if this class will even really have a retry period, but actually it probably won't. in that case, maybe the best thing is just for this class to handle sending as well, because the sender kind of, the whole point of it is that it has this repeating. Okay. So really, yeah, because the only code I need is, yeah, we have to check if we're connected, but I guess if we receive a message we can assume that we're connected. And then yeah, so I really just have to call this message, I don't need to do anything else. So I guess that's what I'll deal with, or how I'll deal with it. So this class will get a message, and then we'll want to send another one back. Client send message, and this would be client hidden info value, and I'll just, obviously won't want to do this, but just so I can remember. Info value message. Yeah, I think this should be fine. Okay, so what I just remembered I need to do is well, class should deal with this. Like if the game goes into an error state, we don't want to send any more information. So I need to get the turn phase here. This controller. I guess this doesn't get. Oh no, we do want to subscribe. Yeah, it's an integer, and it is a turn phase, and it's a new no argument listener, and then we'll just call the refresh sending. I guess I don't really need to do that because we call that every frame anyway. I guess I could clean up this so that this tick only calls when are in the right phase, but this will actually work okay. Oh. Okay. And then we need to change this. That will only want to send something while the turn phase value equals oh, I don't want the turn phase, I actually want the match phase. Because I don't want to send something when it goes into an error state. Okay, so match phase, yeah, turns. Okay, so that's fine. And then I probably want to do the same thing here, but I can wait. And then the receiver shouldn't do the same thing, I guess, to be safe. Oh no, it's variable subscription and match phase. I actually need to get all these values. Controller, get comp. Oops, I'm out of time, but we'll finish this up. Controller, get component, battle log, and the game database is the last one. Oh, well, not the last one, actually. We gotta get the match phase real quick. Okay, we don't have to subscribe to it. We just get the value because we don't actually need to do something when the value changes. Okay, and then down here where we see if we're ready to receive, I'll just check if match phase value equals the turns phase. Okay. So another thing we could do is, I guess, handle request. We'll only handle requests if we're in the right phase, so it's not equal and then we'd return right here. Not that it makes much difference. Okay. So that's good for now, and I guess we'll do this request handler tomorrow and hopefully wrap this up. Okay, I did that. Okay, stat cheat detection, I'm not sure how I'll handle that, so we might move that down to do later. Okay, we still need to do, okay, so let's say hidden info. We need to do all the server side code and also the hidden info request value sender. Oh, that's not it. Hidden info client side. Basically just class I was just pointing to. And then the server side, which should be pretty simple because all the server does is receive messages and send them on to some other client. Alright, we got quite a bit done today. Yeah, mostly this net code, but also finished up or cleaned up a little bit of the cheat detection for our selections, and of course finished up new turn scripts. But I'll be back tomorrow at around 8:30 Eastern, and we'll continue where I left off. If you missed part of this stream or any other stream, I will upload this to YouTube in the morning, so you can find a link in my channel description or type !YouTube in chat. And if you feel like you want to chat with me and other indie developers, I have a new Discord channel which you can find in my video or channel description, or type !Discord in chat. And I guess that's it. Thanks everybody for watching and have a great night. Hope to see you tomorrow. Bye bye.